Welcome to Veronica Live, and we've got our favorite Millennial Minister of Truth, Drew Allen from The Drew Allen Show, and he's on Patriot TV now, The Drew Allen Show. And I was saying, you remember the slogan, Drew, drill, baby, drill? Well, I'm like, was saying Drew, baby, Drew is going to join us. So welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be here as always. I love it.
Yeah, well, we've got to talk about, because you're always doing shows, and I've got to have you on, once a month to talk about all the craziness. And this week you did a show about Kristi Noem and the dog, and that we kind of need to just press on. And oh my gosh, have you seen her? She's been groveling. And I want to say two things. Number one, she didn't read her damn book. Okay. Number two, her Kim Jong-il meeting. Oh, I've met with world leaders for 30 years, but I'm not going to tell you who I've met with. I mean, she looks stupid now. And so anyway, she just, I've been commenting all over X that the John Deere tractor sailed away, Drew. So I just wanted you to talk about Kristi.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm not defending Kristi. I don't care anything about Kristi Noem, to be honest, personally. My point is, she shouldn't be the VP. She's got a lot of skeletons in her closet. It's a bad idea. She's not a good VP candidate. Although, as far as Republicans go and governors go, she's definitely not the worst that we have.
Right.
But my point is, we're sitting here on our precious time, and I did an episode about it, so I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. My point of covering it was to say Joe Biden is a sociopath, a pathological liar. Democrats lie all the time. The border's being invaded, and so we're going to spend a week on Fox News and every other news network talking about how Kristi Noem said something in her book that wasn't true.
I know, waste our
Joe
time.
Biden does that every single day. Yeah. We don't spend this much time on Joe Biden every time he lies, so my point's just where's the perspective on this? Why are we even spending all our time on Noem? I mean, I get it. People don't want her to be VP. There's different camps out there. But, I think it was just overdone in the media. But she did. I mean, she kept putting herself out there and doing interviews. And obviously they finally pulled the plug on those and stopped doing them. But I just felt we spent all this time on Kristi Noem, and it's nothing compared to anything.
The real problems. Well, and we've got real problems. And then the other hot story this week too was, normally we like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but the speaker issue was, I was done with the speaker issue. I don't want to take him out because we don't have time. We have a White House to win. And again, we were deflected. We're deflected on these real issues. So do you feel like we were wasting our time with MTG getting all this coverage on this?
Yeah, of course. Look, the problem in politics in general, and I don't know MTG personally, I actually did PR for her book, but this is just kind of a broad statement first, is we live in an era where most of these politicians aren't serious about governing. They're certainly not serious about doing anything for the country. It's just about celebrity hour. With the advent of social media and the news and everything like that, it's just a popularity contest. People are in there, and they're entirely unserious people, and they waste a lot of time just trying to. It's like a PR campaign. They're just running PR campaigns all the time when they should be serious people who are in the business of protecting the country, and they're not doing that. So that's just part of the problem in American politics, in my opinion. But, it's a stupid waste of time. It doesn't matter if MTG is correct. I'm not a fan of Speaker Johnson. I've talked about this on my show. I've talked about it on other shows. He's no different than Kevin McCarthy right now. But my point was, I pointed out to people that after McCarthy was ousted and the American people, conservatives, wanted Jim Jordan, and Jim Jordan might have been the kind of conservative warrior that we wanted. Maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe he would have caved like Johnson in the end. Maybe he would have gotten in a room with the CIA and they would have threatened him. I don't know. But he's who we wanted. And the Republicans, over 100 of them, met behind closed doors to have a secret ballot so we wouldn't know who their names were. They weren't on record. And they made sure that they defeated any chance that he had to get the gavel. Jim Jordan, that is. And so then we got Speaker Mike Johnson, who nobody had ever heard of. I mean, he's a congressman from Louisiana. I'd never heard of him until this year. Never heard of him, not once. And he gets the gavel. So
I never heard of him.
The issue,
never.
Yeah, the issue is not Johnson. The issue is the other Republicans. So Johnson's the best we can get. Like, I'm sorry if people don't like to hear that. I certainly don't like to say it, but it's true. The issue is not Johnson. It's deeper. It's all of these Republicans who have sold out the country. So the idea that MTG is going to go out there and grandstand and say, I'm going to oust him for what? You think these people are going to give us the conservative warrior we want? No, the only person we can get is a snake. That's it.
But yeah, it's like they missed the entire big picture. You know, it's like, okay, you've got a majority of 2 people, 2 votes, and you have no plan for what comes afterwards if you win. And it's like, let's focus on what the big picture is, and that's getting Joe Biden and all of his administration out of office. That should be like the number one goal. Laser focus on that. Laser focus on getting the vote out, getting Republican turnout and making sure that we're not cheated out of the election like we were the last time. And it's like, where are the grown-ups in the Republican Party? At least the RNC seems to have changed course, with the new leadership, with Laura Trump in there and the Trump operatives. They seem to be changing directions. But the rest of the Republican Party in the House, the Congress is just not there.
Well, look at what the situation is in general in politics, and this is definitely going to offend people, and I hope it does. But like you've got dinosaurs that have been there forever, right? You've got an older population that's they're career politicians in there. They are part of the problem. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them are. And then on the other end, you have a bunch of young yuppies who have never accomplished anything in their lives that want to run for Congress and get elected as well, whether it's AOC or, somebody on the right as well that is young, that really hasn't accomplished much in their life. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean, it's like you go back and look at the founding fathers and why this nation was put on such firm ground to begin with. And these were serious people. Some of them were younger, but they were accomplished. They were like battle hardened. They were brilliant. We do not have people like that, of that kind of stature, that are running for office for the most part.
We have a bartender.
So you got old people who are already corrupt, and then you've got stupid people who have no business being in Congress because they're stupid.
Right. Well, and yeah, who is
or
AOC?
inexperienced?
She was inexperienced. She's never worn a uniform. She's never been in a war zone. I don't know. I don't even know how this woman got elected.
No, she made espresso martinis for people. That's what she did. Her specialty was, making martinis.
Well, I do like a good chocolate martini. So don't take that away from me.
Well, the sad part is you think in a country of 365 million people.
We have no choices.
That the 500 and something people we have in Congress are the best we can do.
Well, and then Drew, John and I, we interviewed George Santos on Monday, and he's very controversial, but it was a good interview. And guess what? He would vote the way we want him to vote. And he got, out of all the liars, he's the one that got ousted. I'm like, okay. So I don't know. We seem to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, well, look, with George Santos, it's funny because here you have a guy who you don't like what he's done outside of Congress, right? So you eliminate him on the basis of you not liking what he was before he came into Congress. But when he's in Congress, he's actually doing exactly what we want him to do. And then you've got people who maybe you like what they do outside of Congress, but in Congress, they're nightmares. They're horrible people. They're selling the country to China and everywhere else, our enemies. And so what? You're gonna keep them around because what they do outside of Congress is more important than what they do in the hallowed halls of Congress? Is that what we're talking about here? Because I don't care. I don't care what you're like unless you're killing people or whatever else outside of Congress. If you're going to put the country first, I can overlook a lot of things. But we have this weird backwards ideology where it's like, ooh. I mean, it's like what they do inside Congress just gets a pass. Like that's irrelevant. It has no bearing on their life.
The vote's the only thing that counts. Their vote that's the only thing that counts. As far as what did you accomplish or what did you do?
Yep.
Well, my favorite of this week, I mean, this woman's insane. Plus, I've become a teenager, I think, now that I've been so vocal. And Maxine Waters, I want to rip her wig off. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I get I don't know. I'm becoming a teen boy. I want to rip her wig off. And this week she said how she warned that the right-wing organizations connected to Trump are training up in the hills somewhere to attack if Biden wins the election in November, Drew. So have you been up in those hills where you live?
Yeah, I'm training, but
in
by
California.
Yeah, I'm all alone. No. Well, where she is too, she's down in L.A. So the only people up in those mountains are a bunch of left-wing vegan-eating, hikers.
Yeah, but they're marijuana farms,
Yeah. They're still wearing masks up in them hills.
So what did you make of the Trump trial this week? I mean, it was
salacious.
So outrageous.
Oh my
what's going on here.
We learned that Stormy slept with 1,000 men, and the funny thing is, when you read about Trump, apparently he's the germaphobe, so he wouldn't even touch her with his pinky.
No, if you look at her, she's nasty looking, nasty.
She's so
horse
gross.
face, he calls her. Yeah. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, there's just I don't think there's any way, even with a crappy New York jury selection, I don't think there's any way that this could have any other outcome than at least a hung jury. I don't see that everybody on this jury could unanimously vote to, with a guilty verdict in this case. I mean, it's just a joke. I mean, she's a lunatic. I mean, she's no different than E. Jean Carroll. I mean, These people on the left are nuts. Maxine Waters, E. Jean Carroll, Stormy Horseface. I mean, they're all lunatics.
Well, and you roll your eyes because is he going to get convicted? You know what I'm saying? I'm scared. I'm scared. And all the people I know on Wall Street, I'm like, are any of your coworkers, have they been missing the last few weeks? Because we've got some corporate finance people on there and two lawyers. Are they really going to convict him? Will there not be one person? I mean, they'll probably be too scared to go the way we want them to go. Because then the press will attack them. They'll find out who it is.
That's the only concern. But I've got to have hope that this can't go anywhere. I mean, this is so ludicrous. I don't know. I'm going to choose to be hopeful right now. I don't see any possibility that they get 12 people to go along with this scam, especially after having Stormy Daniels up there to testify. And she basically she's changed her story 16 different times. I mean, she went on Jimmy Kimmel at one point. And she signed a letter with her lawyer. Maybe it was Avenatti at the time, I forget. But she signed a letter saying that, she didn't accept payment or she didn't sleep with Trump or whatever it is, basically denying what they're trying to say he did now. And Jimmy Kimmel showed her the letter with her signature, and she said, I don't remember signing that. That doesn't even look like my signature. And then later she said, oh, yeah, that's my signature. I remember doing that. So, I mean, this person's a liar. She's a fraud. She's a kook.
So Drew, do you think the damage that they've done to the justice system, I mean, it's obvious in New York, as a conservative or Republican, there's no way you would get any kind of fair trial. In Florida, I would not say the same thing down here because what's going on up there would never be allowed down here. And do you think it's always been there and it's just getting unmasked because it's Trump and we're actually getting to see it, or is this just being perverted just for Trump?
No, well, I think that it's been perverted because of Trump, but I think that basically all these judges and the DA, I mean, they have abandoned any oath to be nonpartisan and to uphold the rule of law. They've all given that up. No, they've done irreparable damage to the justice system. I mean, we're the laughing stock of the world. It's very hard. I mean, this saying. Y'all both know it's true. I mean, it's very hard to build a reputation. It takes a lot of work and consistency. It's very easy to destroy and bring down your reputation with a couple of mistakes. And obviously, there's very little faith in the justice system anymore because of what the Democrats have done in abusing it, manipulating it, and hijacking it for their own political gain. So, no, I mean, this is very problematic. And, of course, I think about, history, people say, can be cyclical. I mean, I think about back in the days of Jim Crow, for example, and in the South, you couldn't get a free trial. That was a joke. Everyone knew it. I wasn't around back then. I don't know how long it took for Black Americans to finally feel like they were getting a fair shake after so much abuse down there. And we're kind of facing a similar uphill battle now. I mean, how many decades is it going to take for us to believe in the justice system again, to have faith in our elections? I mean, we are really fighting a mental battle right now on all fronts, whether it's the judicial system, also people that just believe that there's no point in voting. I mean, there are a lot of people who've just given up on the country because of what's going on. And some of it's valid and other elements of it aren't. So, if you give them any positive news, they'll say, that's not true. It's all rigged. Nothing good can happen. I had this guy on my show today named Greg Phillips, and he's invented this technology. I don't know if I call it an app, but it's basically he's gathered specific information and data on 211 million voters in America. So this is you can actually target very specifically in campaigns based on region and so on and so forth, and actually find out what people want exactly, and you can get them out to vote. So basically, he's the answer to what the left's been doing for a long time. And this is good news because also just regular citizens can sit at home and challenge different voters and things like that in their own districts because they have access to this information and voter data. So this is a huge, huge weapon that we have now at our disposal on the right, and it's being implemented just in time for the 2024 election. And I tell people, like, hey, everyone's looking for solutions. Everyone's looking for answers, some reason to be hopeful. This is one of those bright spots. This is something to be excited about. And I get people responding, lies, you're a liar. It's like, go screw yourselves.
Crazy.
So do you think we're being...
You're a liar, Drew. There's no hope. There's nothing good. There's nothing happy. Everything's rigged.
Hey, at least you got the L word. I got the C word this week. So, and I've gotten that one a few times. And so I'm just trying to let that one roll off my back. Because
it's amazing how nasty
they don't use that on men yet. They don't use that on men yet. They still just reserve that for women, I guess. That's weird.
I wonder if does a trans woman... I don't want to go there.
So Drew, we have to talk. Oh, we still have a lot to talk about with you, but the Princeton professors, in a joint statement, the faculty members said our day-long solidarity fast pales in comparison to the efforts of our students who are undertaking this strike to show their solidarity with the Palestinian people of Gaza and the West Bank who are being subjected to a forced famine and genocidal assault by Israel. So the professors at lovely Princeton, and it's like 4% to get into Princeton. It's super hard to get in there. Have decided that these 24 hours, they're going to fast with the fat Princeton students that have been fasting for several days now, Drew. So I'm just so over it. Because like Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond, I've been following her, and she's been fighting really hard as a conservative and pro-Israeli. She played, I could only watch 2 of the snippets of what went down October 7. And like they're stained in my head now, what I saw. So, and now we got these dumb people. And then let's talk about USC has canceled graduation. I'm like, I've been saying on X, hire some former Navy SEALs and secure the compound. I mean, what has gone down, and I'm sure you saw the footage at Michigan, people started with the PLO Palestinian flags, and the students were booing them, just like the UNC students that protected the flag that was at half-mast for those 4 marshals that these radicals were ripping down. And I've been texting the student. I had asked him to come on my show. He came on Laura Ingraham, but I think he's gotten too much press. And he's trying to become a Wall Streeter, so he's like, thanks for asking, but no. So your thoughts on these crazy protesters, Drew, that are just so stupid?
Yeah, it's gosh, where to begin? I mean, it starts with the public education system, K through 12. So, If you needed evidence of knowing what the root cause was, I would point to them misspelling Palestine at maybe UCLA. Palastine. It's like, no, it's Palestine with an E. But obviously these people didn't learn to read or write in the public education system. So there's your evidence of where they're coming. We're producing a bunch of radical dummies that can't even spell Palestine, much less point it out on a map. But of course, you'd have a hard time because there's no such thing as Palestine. But that's a whole hour-long discussion about history that the Democrats and the left don't know anything about. But no, I mean, it's a combination. I mean, really, this is the rotten fruit of the left's policies for decades. I mean, and ideas. Like, for example, I mean, the coddling of these students, right? Like, what happened to the days of, like, Reagan when you just go in and say, okay, all of you air traffic controllers, you're fired. You're fired. Go home. Done. If you don't show up to work, you're done. That's the kind of response we need with this sort of stuff. And we could deal with this if we would just defund these universities. People forget that a lot of these private universities, even though they're private, they still take government money. So you could actually just pull the plug on all that money, and you would have these administrators change their tune really quick and shut these things down. But it goes to show that we're not really serious about shutting it down. The left especially doesn't have any problem with this, really. These are their people, by the way. They've created these monsters. I think the only question is, did they create, Frankenstein? Did they create, Frankenstein's monster here, and it's out of control, or are they still controlling the beast? I mean, that's kind of, I think, the question is this something that's just gotten out of control? This is very Jacobin. This is very, French Revolution right now, what we're facing, which is very scary because, at the end of the day, there's no actual goal except destruction, and everyone becomes a target at some point.
Well, do you think it's a preview of what's going to happen if Trump wins? What we're going to see in January?
Oh. Yeah, you better get. I'm serious. People say this all the time. It's kind of just a thing to say, but people better make sure they're armed and have guns and everything else at their home. I'm serious. Like when Trump wins, you will see unbelievable violence. I think that will make BLM protests during the Summer of Love look like Disneyland or something. So
it's so
scary,
it's coming. Drew. It's so scary. And why are we letting these dumb radicals cancel graduations? When my kids were in college, had they missed the graduation, and we already had the kids that missed all the COVID crap, graduations. I would be going crazy if my kid was at USC right now. And then I'm sure you watched the raid in Columbia when the cops were going in on the second floor with this special cherry picker. I mean, blew my mind. I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening. And they're just destroying everything at these schools. And apparently, they held the janitors. I saw an interview yesterday. It was a soundbite of the janitor. I mean, he was scared for his life. And are these kids going to end up in jail? And half of them probably, they're fake. They're not even real students.
And the other part of that, Veronica, is this was all staged for the press. They showed the pictures of them breaking the window in I forget the name of that hall there, but anyways,
Hamilton Hall.
Hamilton, and I'm laughing because I'm watching the picture. Okay, I look for details. The crash bars on the door were on the side that the idiot with the hammer was breaking the window. And after he broke the window, nobody ever reached in to grab the knob because the crash bar was on their side of the door. So they pushed the crash bar and the door opens, And it's like, this is all staged, for propaganda purposes. It has nothing to do with reality.
Yeah. It's insane. And, it's to your point, I just think about, like, it's amazing what the left selectively has compassion for, but all of these students who, came into a situation 4 years ago where classes were, not held in person. They still spent all of those tens of thousands of dollars on education. And now they get to their senior year. They've had a little bit of normalcy, as much as one can have at a lunatic institution like the university. But, graduation is a big deal, and it's something that we all get to experience. And we sat here and we said in 2020, when they shut down everything, this is a disaster. How could they do this to our children? And now we have them doing that to the same children again, taking away that experience from them. And, we have people that are sympathetic to the radicals that are disrupting things, that are ruining other people's experiences and lives. And it's just unbelievable the way the left has no respect for anybody else. They are so selfish. They are so stupid. And it's I'm sick of this tolerance that people have for it. There should be no tolerance for this.
But when do you think the leadership at these colleges is going to change, Drew? It's the University of Florida, former Senator Ben Sasse is the president of the University of Florida. It was a very controversial pick, because he was a politician. And yet he's the one that's coming out in a leadership role saying, look, these aren't children. They're adults, and they're here for an education, and we're not going to put up with it.
Here's the rules. And this isn't a daycare.
Right.
It's not a daycare.
Right. And so he's treating them as adults, not children, and they seem to be offended by that fact.
Well, this is the world that we live in, and again, this is a construct of the left. People don't believe they're adults forever sometimes. You have 50-year-olds who don't believe they're adults, that act like children. And we do this to society. We keep pushing the goalposts further and further back. I mean, look, I didn't feel like an adult as early as, my dad's generation, for example, generations before that were working at 14, 13 years old. But now we kind of pride ourselves on extending that, giving our children a little bit more of a bubble, a little bit more time to enjoy their innocence. That's what we try to do. But I think we've gone too far. And, look, people are looking to avoid the real world. Eventually you have to enter the battlefield, and that's what life is. It is a battle. It's a war, whether you like it or not. And, people go to graduate school, for example, to avoid stepping foot on the battlefield of life. Anything to delay what is associated with adulthood, responsibility, making decisions. But that's because we're, some of it's not anybody's fault. I think that even, right-leaning parents, it can happen to any of us. I'm probably, I'm not the hardest guy in the world because, I came up in a period of great, not that my parents in particular were like, the wealthiest people in the world. They worked hard, kind of upper middle class, but I wanted for nothing. I didn't have to do and make the sacrifices that, maybe they did when they were coming up. And so, inevitably you become a little bit softer.
Right. Well, I wanted to ask you, talking about educators, the Chicago Teachers Union has gone flipping bonkers with their demands. And I guess they're demanding everything they want is going to cost $50 billion. I don't know if that's the right number, but some of them are unused school facilities are converted into migrant housing, police-free schools. Now this one's horrific. These are educators. 100% coverage for abortion care. So the educators want to abort their babies. And I'm disgusted. And then they want annual training for LGBTQ and issues. So I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, it's a hostage situation, right? I mean, they want to hold the country hostage to get what they want. And this is what I'm saying again, like we need men to step up and just laugh at these people. People need to be treated with the lack of respect that they deserve and earned with this kind of behavior. I mean, if I ran to this person, they'd never talk to me again. They'd be scared to death of me because I wouldn't tolerate it, And, we need to stop trying to respect everybody all the time. If you're disrespected, I mean, there's certain codes, that we used to live by. I mean, you would have somebody in public that would scold somebody if they violated one of those codes, if they were rude, if they did this and that. But now we live in this world where it's just like live and let live all the time. And that's why the fabric of society is just breaking all around us because we don't stand for anything. Everything goes. I mean, if we lived in a world in which, we could all agree that certain things were not tolerable in public and elsewhere, it takes a community that sits here and sets that precedent. But we're all living in our little bubbles. And these people obviously aren't respecting, those rules. We might go about our, like with the mask stuff, Okay, you want to wear a mask during COVID? even though I know it doesn't work and it's ridiculous, go ahead and do it. I'm not going to stop
still
you. I'm not
wearing
even going to make fun of you. Yeah, but look at the other side. Look at the other side. If you didn't wear a mask, they didn't say that's up to you. They would chastise you in public. They would refuse you service. They would try to send you to prison if they could. So this is what we're dealing with, and you have to actually take on a little bit more brutal attitude if you want to save society. We can't be soft anymore. We have to acknowledge the enemy.
Did you see?
So Drew,
go ahead, John.
Just real quick. I see this partisan divide, and it's sort of like, and my attitude is like, New York can go to hell. If they want to be like that, let them live that way. That's what they voted for. That's what they get. If the people want to, send all these illegal immigrants to New York City and they want to be taken care of the rest of their life, fine. Let the liberals put up with that. Just don't come to Florida, okay? Leave us alone. The liberals, stay in New York. Don't come to Florida. We don't want you. Is that where our country's headed?
No. I mean, I wish it was headed that way, but they're locusts. They won't leave you alone, John. They see Florida as a bastion of freedom, and they want to destroy it. It's not enough to take New York. You could give them, 49 of the 50 states and say, okay, you liberals can ruin 49 states. We want California because it's the prettiest state. All the conservatives are going to California, okay? And they would come to California and ruin California because they can't tolerate you being happy.
Yeah,
I just leave me the hell alone. That's all I want.
John's like, no. Well, you don't have to worry. We're concealed carry. We're packing. My new slogan: always be packing. But I wanted to ask you, because I'm thoroughly revolted by this man now. I don't ever want to see him again. And that is RFK Jr. He was doing an interview with this. I don't even know who she was. Their shoes were off. Her seat were folded. Her legs were folded under her on the sofa. His shoes were off. And she asked him about abortion, and he said, oh, women can choose, and it can be up to the day before birth. And I'm like, and this was the guy people were touting. Oh, he needs to be Trump's VP. He's a radical bastard.
He's got worms eating his brain.
So I'm sure you saw the clip, Drew, because you're an X guy, like I'm an X gal now. We're all over X, and that clip went viral.
Yeah, I love it because Trump put out a Truth Social message a couple weeks ago in which he said that he'd rather have Biden than RFK Jr. And, of course, he was drawing attention to the fact that people were overlooking how radical RFK Jr. was. And a lot of people were attacking Trump for making that claim, saying, that's ridiculous. What is he doing? But, of course, Trump is light years ahead of other people strategically. Well, it turns out that Trump is exactly right. Now, Biden is the most dangerous president we've ever had, but he doesn't know what planet he's on. He's just an empty vessel of destruction for the left. Biden himself, he'll do whatever they tell him. But RFK Jr. actually is the very radical, and he's obviously, I guess the only thing I'll give him credit for is at least he was honest. Obama and the Clintons and all these people in the past, Joe Biden, they pretend to be these moderates until they get in there, and then you find out who they really are. And RFK Jr. has the most radical stance on abortion you could possibly have. Infanticide is what he supports. He is a lunatic. He's always been a lunatic. He's also a creep. He's a weird person. And I think it's hilarious because a lot of these people are all grifters, but all of the DeSantis supporters, right, who wanted DeSantis. And one of the things they said about DeSantis they loved is that he was pro-life. He was the most pro-life candidate there. And now all those people that were supporting DeSantis have decided they're going to support RFK Jr. And here comes RFK Jr. that has the most radical abortion stance you could possibly have, and that's their guy. So it shows you how unprincipled people are, how stupid they are, and how just devoid their minds are of facts and reality when it comes to the danger the country faces, the reality of Trump's successes and failures, his strengths and his weaknesses. So they would not support Trump, who single-handedly, with his Supreme Court appointments, got Roe v. Wade overturned. So he's done more for the pro-life movement than any president in history. And these people are supporting RFK Jr., who's the radical. It's just hilarious in some way.
They're crazy. Okay, well, the final thing I wanted to ask you about was the Jack Smith, placing those classified covers, and it was a fake photo, and so I've been on X going, who's going to hold this dude accountable? He's a complete liar. He's the one that needs to have handcuffs and be thrown in jail.
And Veronica, you and I, we flagged that as soon as those pictures came out, because we've both been in the military.
I've handled classified. It's a nightmare.
Right? And we sit there and saw the picture and says, these are just cover sheets. This is not classified. It's a cover sheet. It doesn't mean anything, But they stage it anyway.
So thoughts on that, Drew?
So to be honest, I heard absolutely nothing that was just said. Everything just disappeared and was garbled. But Jack Smith sucks. Wait, give me the paraphrase again, quick. Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. No, that he staged the photo with the fake classified covers, and John was saying, because we both handled classified in the military, and it's no fun to handle because you sign your life away and will end up in handcuffs. This man now needs to end up in handcuffs because he staged this freaking fake photo. Okay, Drew cannot hear us, he's saying. So hold on, everyone. We'll get Drew back on. Are you there? Oh, now there you are, Drew. We're talking about the...
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah,
I can't
we
hear anything
you.
For some reason.
Okay. All right. Let me pause right quick, and we'll get Drew back on the line. Just a second.
I'm hearing him fine.
Yeah. All right, we got Drew back. Drew, we were talking about the classified covers that Jack Smith made that fake photo, and John and I have handled classified, and, if we messed it up back in the day in the military, we would have handcuffs on. So I think who's going to hold Jack, this lawyer, accountable now? He belongs in prison because he's lied.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to hold him accountable. That's the reality. We're just going to have to try and get through this. This is another one of those things. Speaker Johnson, he's not willing to try to defund this whole thing and basically get rid of Jack Smith in whatever capacity he could be. The thing with all this stuff, too, is, he's not going to be able to do it. Speaker Johnson doesn't have the people in the Republican Party to support him that he needs and everything else. So all these things are just pipe dreams anyway. So, no, I mean, this is just something that we're going to have to keep in our memories. We need to be keeping a list of these types of grievances that we have, a list of people that need to be held accountable, and they need to be held accountable down the road when we have the opportunity to do so. You cannot allow rogue criminals like Jack Smith to get away with this type of behavior. There have to be very serious repercussions. Otherwise, this type of thing just grows, evolves, it proliferates in society. And that's already what we have at the college campuses and everything else, because people that rioted and burned down stores and looted with BLM, they didn't face consequences. So these people live a life. Hillary Clinton lives a life. Democrats live a life. Deep staters live a life in which they believe they are untouchable. And they believe that because they have been so far. But the moment you start to make them pay, I guarantee you behavior starts to change. We know that. That's not a complicated life lesson.
And on that is Target came out yesterday, because I gave up Target more than a year and a half ago, and they're only going to sell most of their Pride garbage that was in your face. I gave it up because of the Satan stuff. You can be Pride, I don't care, but it was in our face, and we live in kind of a God country here. And so now they're only going to sell it supposedly online.
Stop rubbing it in my face every time I come on here. Veronica, you and John, I live in California, and you sit here every single time I come on. I'm going to stop coming on because I live in Florida. It is so great. It is so free. I have a concealed carry. This is God's country. How do you live over there in Satan land, Drew?
I always say it's God, guns, country, and sweet tea, Drew. That's where we live in the Panhandle.
Hey, Drew, if you'd been here last weekend on the beach for the Salute Air Show, you would say, I'm moving to Florida right now.
Yeah, you can come vacay upstairs in my guest suite upstairs anytime with the baby and your wife. So free pass here. But no, Target is pushed. They felt, obviously, because I haven't shopped there for a year and a half, and I gave up my credit card because I got the nasty letter going, you haven't used it. And so I'm going to officially go out and say that I broke Target. So now they're putting this shiza online. And So, and I missed Target because it was really cute. I missed the, Joanna Gaines Magnolia line and stuff. So Target's feeling the pushback finally, Drew, thanks to my shopping habits.
That's right. Veronica single-handedly got Target to bend the knee finally. Yeah, no. You and millions of other Americans that took it seriously and understood. And it was a red line for you guys and gals. You did, make this happen, I think. Now, the question is, will we remember? Will we let them get off with it? How long until they just go back to doing what they were before and we have short memories and we're like, well, I really do like Disneyland. I've got to go to Disneyland, but bravo. I mean, these are the types of things, though, I think that we should celebrate victories when we have victories. And this is one of those. And the reality is, at some point, the American consumer, the American citizen that spends money and chooses where to spend their money, you do have enormous power, but it's in numbers, right? It's when
right.
you unite as a group, and we can make that change.
So what are we missing, Drew? We've hit all the hot topics for the. I love doing a roundup with you. We love having you on. Tell us about your show this week and who's on today.
I had Professor Nicholas Giordano on. He's a friend of mine. He'll be on Gutfeld on Tuesday. He's a regular on Gutfeld these days.
Okay.
When I met him, he was not so famous, but now he's famous. He has eclipsed me. I must say, Veronica, he's much more famous than me. But that's not that hard. But I had him on. He's a professor of political science. And he has a podcast, the TS Report. So we talk about the campus protests. He offers a lot of interesting perspective on, these kids, because he's around them, right, at these colleges and what's happened to them. And then I had Greg Phillips on, who is the creator of that, not app, but system that he's created to basically help prevent cheating on the left and also to help the right target and get more voters out. So it's pretty cool, pretty interesting guy. He actually worked with Catherine Engelbrecht, who was just on Tucker the other day talking about how they plan to use illegals to steal the election in 2024. So, anyway, both of them happen to be clients of mine too. So
awesome. Well, always a pleasure. We can find you on all the podcast platforms, the Drew Allen Show, and then your TV show. I know you share it, and it's on Patriot TV, and everybody can watch it. So can't wait to check out the new episode that just dropped.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on again, and thanks for making me contemplate moving to Florida again. I'll talk to my wife about it soon.
The guest bedroom, actually, it's a 2-room upstairs with a bathroom. You're welcome anytime, and we'll go boating. It's almost time to go boating here. But anyways, we've always loved having Drew Allen on from the Drew Allen Show, so check him out, and we'll be right back on Veronica Live.